For those of you new to the channel, we interview people with superpowers and we have our own healing journey that we take people on. And in today's episode, we're going to share one of our oldies but goodies.
Okay, so here's today's Spiritual Superpowers replay. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Superpowers. Today, we've got an awesome episode about astrology. We have on the show with us today, David Bensimon of Little Crab Astrology. And astrology is one of those topics that we have wanted to have on the show for quite some time. And I'm just excited to get into it.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here with you both. This is exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Caron and I were talking earlier, and my experience was, reading the horoscope and then knowing my zodiac. That's as far as I go for knowing anything to do with astrology. So can you just kind of explain to our viewers a little bit about what astrology is?
Absolutely. And that is the gateway and the intro that most all of us were greeted with astrology, was through like seeing our sun sign somewhere, seeing in the horoscope section of online or in a magazine. Like, this is how so many of us were first introduced to astrology, because the sun is our core. It is our conscious self. It is, it rules the intellect, the mind, and it is the most visible traits of ourself and our vitality and our energy center and our will to do what we are going to do in this life and express who we are. However, there's so much more. And I think that's what, in a way blocks people from really getting deeper into astrology, is just by hearing traits of their sun sign. Whereas when you start to really delve into your chart and understand your rising sign, how that sets up your entire natal astrology and your chart, and then your moon sign and the other celestial bodies and planets and points in your chart, it all starts to come together. And you could spend a lifetime studying your own chart or one person's chart. That's kind of like the intro to astrology, I would say.
Do you consult your chart to make decisions about how you kind of orchestrate your life?
That's a great question. I go through periods where I do pull more elections for myself, where I pull astrology for specific events, but then I go through periods where I don't at all. And I just kind of follow my intuition. And often, like, my intuition kind of consults me as to like, oh, you should check the astrology. And usually what I see in the astrology is what I'm dealing with. And sometimes astrological aspects can present itself more symbolically and sometimes very literally. And it's always funny when it's literal, because it's just like, oh, astrology. Yes, but I wouldn't say every day. I think that if you look to astrology to make every decision, I think you could drive yourself crazy. And I don't think that's its purpose. Like, it's kind of like someone that would draw like tarot cards for like every decision they make. You can do that, and maybe it could be helpful, but I think it could also kind of overrun your own intuition or overrun your own sense of agency, I guess.
That was a great answer. Well, then I guess we'll dive into that now. Is that good, Caron?
Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. This will be kind of like the first time I've seen it. I do know both your rising. Cool. That's always the first thing.
Very cool. Yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll kind of go over the big three, which is rising, sun, moon, and also explain later the house division tool I'm using as to how I'm looking at it. And so now, looking at this chart, what does anything jump out at you?
Yeah, so the MC with the horseshoe thing.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay, so your midhaven, and this is actually when I was looking at your chart, I was like, this is interesting, because this is normally in the 10th house. Your midhaven is your most public sector, medium coli. It is the pinnacle of the chart. Usually, as I mentioned, it's in the 10th house, opposite the 4th, but sometimes based on the sun's placement at the time you're born, it kind of can alter, and it can range from anywhere from the 9th house to the 11th house. So when the midheaven, this is a little bit esoteric, but when the midheaven's not in the 10th house and it's in the 9th house, it gives extra significance to what you're building towards, actions you're taking to get to the big thing that you want to do with your life. So it's about the journey and the path. Getting there is the most visible thing and what people are seeing. Another like very contemporary analogy would be you're creating a social media post or a TikTok video in the 9th house, like you making the video is what gets all the attention. Whereas the 10th house, that would be like what happens when you post the video. And then the 11th house is the reaction to it. And so I would say your journey, Dawn, especially being in Pisces and having to do with like the metaphysical and the imaginative and the subconscious, your journey to explore and how you have like uncovered these themes. You have the South Node right there, could kind of represent things that are being brought in from past lives, things that you came in to this life already understanding and knowing. So sharing your innate spiritual gifts, and also it being in the 9th house, having to do with divination, having to do with your belief system. I think how you came to your beliefs is just as interesting as what you do with them. Like it is maybe what people perceive when they see you on social media for the first time, when they see you on YouTube. They are seeing your wisdom and your culmination of wisdom and journey along the way. And then the 10th house happens to be like the show you're making, and then 11th house would be like the people's reaction to it.
But I'm also shocked to hear, like, is the midheaven always about like divination and spirituality and stuff?
No.
So, and as a Capricorn, I don't think of Capricorns as being overly sensitive that way. So it is really interesting that that's where it lands, because I'm very spiritual in a left brain Capricorn kind of way.
Yeah, totally. So that's the thing. That's what gives layers. And that's why, like, if I were to list off, you're a Capricorn sun, they're good at being engineers or beta management, and these kind of very rote descriptors of good Capricorn trait or good Capricorn occupations, you know, it might be like, it doesn't quite sit right. So it is interesting. People will see your spiritual path. That will be very evident and visible. But then, like, as a Capricorn, how you approach it and how you go on that journey and how you navigate that journey is very Capricorn based.
Oh yeah. That's really cool.
Gotta talk about your 3rd house.
Yeah, it looks a little busy. It's a busy house.
So yeah, anytime you have 3 or more planets, say within a 10-degree orb of one another, it's a stellium. Some astrologers view it as like 4 planets or more. I think almost anyone would acknowledge that this is a packed house and a stellium where all the energy kind of merges together, because especially you're so close in degree. And so your chart ruler, your ascendant being Cancer, the ruler of Cancer is the moon. So that's the first thing I'm going to look at. I'm like, okay, how's the moon doing? All right. So the moon, which has to do with our emotional nature, with our emotional needs, with our ability to nurture and be nurtured, with our roots, where we've come from, what's home to us, and also like our physical, like a lot of astrologers equate the moon to our body, to intuition, to what flows in our life, to our mood, our emotional state. It is in the 3rd house, which rules siblings, which has a lot to do with communication with our local neighborhood. So it is next to some challenging planets. Like, let's look at this. So this is fascinating. So it is an enclosure of the malefic planets. And so the malefic planets are planets that present challenges to us. Were there challenges with siblings?
With a sibling, I have a younger brother, and we're not overly close. There's no beef between us, but I was a vicious older sister growing up. I was extremely competitive. I really had bad sibling rivalry, And
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't very nice growing up to him. Yeah.
So Mars is a planet of war, assertion, getting from point A to point B as quick and as easily as possible. And so it can be cutthroat. It can be cutthroat when Mars is next to your moon. It can, I don't want to say like create a mean streak, but sometimes your emotional drive to get what you want and to achieve and to triumph over. Mars is very much about like triumphing over someone or conquering a castle. It can be pronounced. And so the emotional need to be better than your sibling, that could be an expression. And the other planet next to it is Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn. And so all of this is in Virgo, which were you like a perfectionist? Like this is like Virgo energy is about having everything in order. And it is also about service though. So as it can manifest later, as you start to become like really driven to serve others and to be of service to others. But sometimes what I find in astrology, like in our younger years, you experience a lot of the more challenges. And as you get older, in retrospect and hindsight, examine how these challenges have fared for you and how can I transcend, how can I evolve, and how can I not repeat the same mistakes or the same pattern. So Saturn is about like achievement and overcoming the earthly obstacles in our way to get there. So it's a lot about like restricting, discipline, classifying, putting things in containers, compartmentalizing your emotions maybe. I mean, Saturn retrograde kind of.
Well, yeah. Okay. So I'm obsessive compulsive disorder as well as like a food addict / bulimic anorexic. So I was like all about restriction and perfectionism. So you are hitting the nail on the head with this. Yeah.
We also have Jupiter here, which is the most helpful planet in a day chart. And the day chart being that your sun is above the horizon and clearly you're born during the day at like 3:54 p.m. So Jupiter is where we can experience expansion, abundance, and ease. So you have it next to Mars. The good and the bad may have all been tied together. And it's almost where there was benefits to like, perfectionistic tendencies, or where there you reap the rewards of like being very disciplined or being type A, did get like maybe some material results from that. And then also you had to deal with the consequences of that at the same time. So it's very all tied in together. Such a concentration of this area. And
that is bang on for me. Absolutely. And I have to say that I'm quite different now than what I was when I was younger. I'm like a recovering perfectionist, as I say, a recovering type A personality. And yet, but it did serve me, and it served me really well, but there were consequences as well. And I think as I got older, I reevaluated a lot as to what my intentions were and what outcomes I really wanted to happen. So I feel I have a lot more balance now. So everything you just said is like, wow, bang on.
And that's just the fact that you acknowledge like, okay, I wasn't the best sister, or like I was like, these tendencies led to this and they had benefit, but they also put me out of balance. So it's, that's, and the fact you use the word serve, which is a big Virgo term, it's like being of service of. And so, how your journey could help someone who is experiencing, who has OCD tendency, who has an ED, an eating disorder, or any type of restrictive disordered eating, like your story and how you navigated that journey. And again, going back to your midhaven, the ninth house, like how your experiences and wisdom and what you overcame in your journey, that could be so valuable to others, and that could be of service to other people, and sharing that could help someone going through that now.
Yeah. And that's all I want right now, is to be of service. So thank you. Wow. Wow. And so I have this chart now. And so would I come back to you with it at different points, and we kind of talk about where we are with the planets in the present day, where they are, or what do we do with this chart going forward?
This is okay. So this is where it gets really fun. So there's lots of different techniques. Like, let's say you're, hey, David, what's like from birthday year this year to birthday year next year, what's that going to look like for me? And there's a couple different ways we look at that. We can look at your solar return chart, which is looking at where all the planets are when the sun is at the exact point it was when you're born. So that means 16 degrees Capricorn, 42. Now, it's going to look completely different every year. And that kind of is like a topographic map where you can see all the like details of like the rivers and the mountains you have to traverse through the year, and the details of how you're going to traverse that area. And then there's something called annual perfections, which is an ancient timing technique from Hellenistic astrology that looks at what house is going to be the central theme. I can tell you, you are 1980, so you're going to be entering a 7th house perfection. You're going to turn 42. Yes, I'm 42 because I'm like, okay, I'm like 6 months before, but okay, so you're going to be entering like a 7th house perfection year. And that means that the 7th house and the planet that rules the 7th house, which is Saturn, is going to have extra emphasis. So, January to January, relationships, partnerships are going to take on an extra emphasis. And because they're ruled by Saturn, I'm gonna look at like where Saturn is in Virgo in the 3rd house. It's like, wow, how you communicate with the people, especially maybe your professional partnerships, and where you're trying to go, and what you're trying to build together. It kind of ties into a lot of like what I'm seeing in your natal chart. But so 7th house being hugely emphasized for you in the year ahead. And then there's, on an even nerdier level, there's zodiacal releasing, where you can look at like, are you going through peak periods, preparatory periods, or like release periods, wrap up periods? So
that's really cool. So these would be kind of touched on in
usually later sessions. Yeah.
Later sessions. Cool.
So,
it's like how often people tend to come on, like
I would say like 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes once a year.
I'm going to be booking in with you again, and we can continue this conversation.
Yes. I just really enjoyed this opportunity so much, and meeting the both of you, and exploring your charts. You guys are just such nice people, and also so talented. Like when I look at your other episodes or your shows, just the way that you guys show your experiences. When I think Dawn talking about your 9th house midhaven, it's interesting to show, because the episodes I think I saw Dawn experiencing the thing that you guys were talking with. And that's definitely like a parallel to that 9th house midhaven, where like you're showing people the experience, what you're doing. And then the show itself is like the 10th house.
So I also want to thank Opie from Opies Connection.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Cheryl, because she messaged us and said, look, you've got to connect with David because he is amazing. So she knew that we'd been looking for an astrologer, and it worked out so well.
She's just so sweet. She exudes joy and happiness. So
yeah,
such a powerful psychic and such an amazing human. It's just
yeah, she definitely is. Yeah. All right, so thank you to David for the readings today, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode. And please remember to scroll down, look at all of David's information, like the episode if you liked it.
And also subscribe. Yes, subscribe if you haven't done so. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss another episode. We're going to have a few different episodes featuring David and all the things that he does. So you don't want to miss any one of those.
Thank you so much to both of you. This is so awesome. Really appreciate it.
Yay. Well, thank you.
All right.
And we'll chat soon.
Yeah. Take care. So have a good night.
You too. Have a great night.
Okay. All right. Thanks, David.